Sure. So the topic is basically about, I think at its core, the correct, I would say, manners when you're doing, basically when you're on your cell phone, whether it be being on your phone in the presence of others when you're out, be it taking tons of pics in public, be it needed to Instagram every dish that comes out on your 5-course meal. Just kind of like, does this, what are the kind of like new norms? Because obviously, I think a very traditional person would say cell phones should be away. You should never bring them out. You should never take a call at the table, et cetera, which I think we talk about. Right. But I think, millennials, Gen Z, I think we have different rules and different norms when we're with each other and people kind of in our age range. And what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, and how do you find that balance? And also more broadly, how are we making is our use of like cell phones in public in certain settings kind of distracting from the environment you're in and being impolite toward others who aren't part of your, like, as sitting at your table, part of your friend group, or whatever. And just kind of like, how do we find that balance? And I think we talk a little bit about like things that maybe bug us personally, that maybe our own bad habits, maybe bad habits that or things we don't like when we're with other people. So that was just kind of like the idea, and I think which would branch out to like, when's it appropriate to take a fit pic, or, take your friends to the table, just kind of like, how do we balance that?
Sure.
Because obviously, with a lot of us being on social media, I think most of us here have an Instagram or something, and we enjoy posting the occasional fit pic or selfie or what have you, or maybe even being photographed. I think it would be interesting to kind of suss that out a little bit and feel like
bro.
What's cool, what isn't cool,
a little sus.
And go from there. So that's
definitely
that's the topic. And I'm trying not to be a curmudgeon about this. I'm not trying to like.
Wait, but
that's the name of this.
Yeah, that's the name of the stream.
Oh shit!
Oh shit!
I'm
on it.
Shoot!
I hate everything. I hate technology.
I
want my flip phone.
This is really funny because so a little bit more background here. Obviously, some of us are on the younger side. Some of us are still in college, obviously. And some of us. That's MJ. That's John. That's Andy. There's a lot of people in that cohort. Ever since we started talking to YC, I use the word cohort to describe a group of people now. But and something that kind of obviously plays a factor into this whole thing. And I think I can speak for a little bit of these guys, because some of these guys obviously they started reading the blog as well, and something that I've kind of put out there ever since the blog kind of first started is this idea that I've wanted to present menswear as a part of like everyday life. Obviously, everything is written out. I have to set up a tripod. I had to ask MJ for a fit, to hold my camera, take the picture, and everything like that. So there's obviously a little bit of manufactured and specificity behind some of these things. But
specificity.
It was, it's never, it was never from like an influencer standpoint. Because again, I'm sure all you guys know by now my stance on influencers and that kind of monetized content and everything. We eat them, right? And so, I was always very conscious of coming across that way. And I think, I don't want to overstate my influence, but I think that as my friends started to get into this and becoming more confident in taking the pictures for themselves, they try not to do those things. And that bleeds into your whole thing about the whole, manners, whether you're at a table, whether you're hanging out with friends and everything. But I will say that classic menswear has, or maybe men's fashion, whatever, this this whole thing has a just kind of unique little idiosyncrasy of like taking pictures all the time. It may not even be like a may not even be.
Hey, we just got a new follower. Thank you, Jay Sus 123.
Nice.
Oh shit! What's up, bro?
Awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's I'm not sure.
Bless you.
it may not be a fit pick, but there's just like this weird. It could be because like it's kind of indie, but like like it's a very New York thing, right? I think I've talked to Spencer about this years ago about how like when you follow a guy from New York, it's like you take weird like mirror selfies and like really like unconventional selfies, right? Like you walk through and there's like a fucking like shop sign or like a tiny mirror on like the road. You take a fucking fit pic on there or whatever. There's just kind of this weird New York documentarian kind of aesthetic, right?
The guy living in Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is it happens in LA too, but like on more of like the indie kind of weird, like the more low key thing. Because in LA, the opposite. It's more of like the influencer thing, right? Lots of painted walls, lots of very nice food that's photographable and shareable and everything. And so menswear, I think, kind of goes into more of the indie standpoint, where like you follow. Well, it depends on who you follow, but like you follow the guys from the Grange, right? And like it's like fucking like weird New York alleyways, right? The fucking Odeon or whatever, like a blurry pic. Like it is content, and you could say that maybe it's their version of making a manufactured branded life, but it's a little bit easier and slouchier, and I think that's kind of a unique thing, or to me it seems like a unique thing from New York, because I haven't been around too many people who do what you were describing, like, oh, we're in like a nice steakhouse and I'm gonna take a fucking flash picture in the middle of this dinner, and then just fucking like, oh, it's not good, gotta do it again, gotta do the boomerang and everything.
Yeah, so like I just kind of like work off that, like, so I don't know if anyone's read this book, Men and Manners by David Coggins. It's actually really good, really fast read, and I was going through it in preparation for today's stream because the homework, brings something concrete to the table. And here's just a really quick passage in here. When we are together with our friends, are we actively engaged? Right. Are we listening? Are we taking an interest? Or are we staring at our phones, our minds elsewhere? We've all seen what happens when one person takes their phone out. Everyone else takes a moment to do it as well. And we've all seen tables or maybe sat at them that are full of silent scrolling phone numbers. And I think this is one of the things that bothers me is, when you go out to a nice restaurant or you go to maybe like a really like one of those specialty cocktail bars that have like smoke and shit coming off of it. It's really cool. It's a great like sensory experience, and it's I totally get why people want to be like, oh my God, I got reservations to this place. It's my first time here. I'm super excited. I'm with a friend or a group, and I want to like document this for myself. But let's be honest, you're also throwing this shit on Instagram or whatever. And I think like I've seen it enough times where I've gone to different places where it's been very noticeable. And it's like that's made me more want to definitely not even touch my phone that evening, because like I feel like it's a bit rude to the people around you that are also trying to just enjoy the experience of this stupid drink that has smoke in it, or the wait staff that works really hard on the presentation of their meal, to kind of bring that, like, I have to photograph this and put this and post this like right now. And I think like going back to, what you're talking about like being with friends and like wanting to provide some documentation, it would be nice to like, like that stupid thing pops up in like your Facebook memories of like, remember 3 years ago when this crazy thing happened, whatever. Like, it is nice to have like some of those things.
Yeah.
I'll post my story after the event.
I mean, I think there's an issue now, where a lot of these trendy restaurants and bars want you to take photos of your food and post them on Instagram. So it's like,
that's like part of their marketing. That's
it's free marketing.
Plan.
Exactly.
And I just kind of like.
I mean,
it's nice to have a dining experience where like you get yelled at for your phones. Like I know there's a bar in Chicago called the Violet Hour where you are not allowed to have your phones out and they'll kick you out immediately, which I love. I love that idea that no cell phones out.
I mean, I think
how boomer of you.
There's two different topics here, which I think we should focus more on, like that when you have it out for the sake of content creation and sharing. Because I mean, having it out to text people, that's like a different type of like.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm more talking about the photographing, the videoing,
right.
The let's do a boomerang.
Okay. I mean, first off, I don't fucking make boomerangs. I don't know who the fuck does that. That's super. I don't know. I mean, no offense to people watching who do that. Because there's a little bit. I think we can probably agree there are certain things that are a little bit okay. That's funny. Like that are a little bit more cringe than others. Like I'm pretty cognizant to like if I'm in a dark place, I'm not gonna fucking take a picture with flash. Like I'm just gonna like
that is the worst thing.
Yeah, it's like
or the second most egregious is when someone's trying to take a photo and someone else has their other phone, their second phone, their own phone,
with the light
on to get like a better. I fucking hate that the most. I hate that the most.
I mean, so I've kind of been there, and Jeremy brings up a good point too. With like with food, you're there to enjoy it, but like there are certain things like an art gallery where you take a picture. Like you do, like people take pictures with it. It's kind of annoying. Which, it's kind of. Excuse me. We don't know the context of the people who are going to these things. I think that's something important. Like when Spencer and I talked about or discussed the permanent style video dressing up in a dress down world. God, I'll never get that right. I swear to God, I'll never get that right. But in that Bruce Boyer is like, oh, the occasion, right? Like the whole like you're going to a restaurant, this guy's wearing like skinny jeans and a button-up shirt, and you're there in a suit. But it's like, what if that is what that guy finds fancy, right? So the flip side with the content part, it's like it might look pretty cringe because it reminds you of like an influencer who's going to do #SpawnCon with like her new dress or whatever. But sometimes some people just do it because that's how they think that's how the world works. They're probably younger, and that's how they're going to remember it later on. And they do share it. As a guy who, and I'm sure the rest of us do as well. We don't all follow only menswear guys. We follow regular people, friends, family, classmates, and everything. And they share these old pictures. Like, oh yeah, remember when I went to fucking France, right? Like they're glad that they have it, right? And they're not monetizing it. It's not as shallow as I think it's going to be. So like, as I think about things that way, I'm kind of quick to not, or I don't want to be quick to judge about those kinds of things. I will say, so this is something very embarrassing that I've always, I always have every time.
Ready?
Embarrassing story time.
Can't wait.
I went to a place called, I forgot what it was, like some art installation thing, and it wasn't as like, what do you call it? It wasn't as intentionally Instagrammy as like the Museum of Ice Cream or the Selfie Museum. It wasn't one of those things. It was like still pretty cool art or whatever, but. There was a place that the people you would go in, there was a line, you take a picture, there's like pitchforks dangling from the ceiling. I forgot what it's called. I'm sure it's traveled different places and everything. So there was a little bit of self-awareness that this is a cool place to take pictures of. And I remember I was in this kind of like light part of it. It was really dark, and I was taking pictures of my friend, and someone, not an attendant, but like someone came up to me and says, hey, you guys are kind of focusing on yourselves a little too much, like have some respect for the art here. But I was like, I get it, but it's like, that's also like this place though. You know what I mean? Like maybe we were just there a little too long, compared to some other people, but it was still like this isn't like this. We're not at the fucking Met right now, dude. Like this is not, and again, no offense to the artist, but it was like when they encourage you to do that kind of thing. I mean, it's more of like it's more of an indulgent issue as opposed to the whole thing being bad, right? So.
I mean, that's like just like in an art gallery or something like that, whether it be like a private gallery or museum. There's a little bit of like, if you've got the whole place to yourself, like as many times as like private art galleries, if it's not like an opening or something. I'm sure no one's going to say anything about you spending 20 minutes to get a shot in there. But I think if you're like in a crowded museum where you're just taking like 30 photos, like with you and your friends. I've seen that. And like, I remember I went to the Art Institute here in Chicago with my brother, like maybe like a year ago. And, he was just like, he's even more pretentious than I am. And he was just like watching these like group of, younger people, like just taking like a series of selfies, like in front of stuff. And he's just like, why are you taking pictures of yourself that you do every day when you literally have like priceless, one of a kind Van Goghs behind you? He's like, you should be spending the time looking at the Van Gogh. You shouldn't be taking selfies right now. And like, I
want to take a selfie with Van Gogh.
Yeah, like without your ear. But I was just kind of like, that's a good point. And he said it in a very derisive way. But I kind of get what he was saying, because it's just kind of like, you've clearly spent the time like to do this thing, and you're not actually engaging with it. And I kind of feel like that's the same. Like I have one friend in particular, and he's like notorious for always being on his phone whether it's a group or a one-on-one, and like, he's a good friend. I love him, but it just drives me nuts. I'm like, dude, like, you live in Ohio, you come to Chicago maybe once a year. Yeah. This is the only time we get to hang out in person, and like, you're on fucking Twitter. Like, you're not checking your email, you're not like doing work stuff. You're on Twitter. I'm like, nothing is cool on Twitter that's cooler than me right now. And
nothing is cooler than me in general. So,
so like, that just like drives me nuts when it's like, you're so involved in like not being involved in the thing you spent a time, you made plans, you had reservations, you paid money to go do, and like, you're doing the thing that like totally detracts from the experience. So that always kind of like rubs me the wrong way just in general, but I think it's a little bit weirder too in the context of this like menswear layer, right? Where it's like
right. Because I mean, this, like, there is.
I want to build my brand. I'm good doing something cool, and I wore cool clothes. Yeah. I need to get photos of me doing this, right? It's like part of the whole image thing. But and I think like that to me is like a very interesting like conundrum. And I've spoken a lot, so I'll let the panel chime in.
Yeah,
especially on that end.
Yeah. Well, before we get into it, I think I just want to have a full disclaimer. I think that's that idea of building a brand. Full disclosure, whatever.
Hashtag full disclosure.
One of the things that your frustration with that whole thing about building the brand leads into why I don't like influencers. So I'll just say, like, when we do eventually have that as a topic, especially on the podcast, that is something that I will definitely bring up. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what the rest of you think about this. You guys are regular guys, and again, I think that one of our benefits here, or maybe something that is a little bit of controversy, that we are not like permanent style, right? We don't have to sell that. We are not. We don't have a personal brand that we're trying to sell. I mean, maybe Jason, whenever he wears that Tell Your Fugue things, you gotta sell the idea of I work in custom suiting. Same thing with you, Kiyoshi. You work at Hall Madden. I'm sure there's a little bit behind it, right? The idea that, oh, look, I look good. I can help you look good at my job. There's a little bit of that in there. But for the most part, we don't have that direct kind of thing, right? We're not there's I think there's like two sides of it, right? There's like the whole permanent style thing where like, you're trying to make yourself a menswear influencer in a sense, even if the menswear influencer is a little bit different than the traditional #everything there is still that idea of, you're getting free stuff, you might get the homie discount, whatever. There's an extra layer to it. And then there's the other side of like WM Brown Project where, maybe you are an editor or something and you have to kind of keep up that lifestyle, right? To have that, to make yourself an authority on the subject, right? And that's something that I think I can, I kind of have a little bit of both on those kind of things, and I can get into my thoughts about content creation. But let's hear from the guys who, the rest of you guys who don't have blogs, who don't necessarily work directly in menswear or whatever. Whoever wants to take it away, go ahead.
I mean, I like getting photos with friends.
Right.
Like whenever we go to menswear events, like I'll just say it's like you and I, when we go to just hanging out with friends events, if we're just gonna go to see a movie, or if we're going to a restaurant and we're hanging out with friends who are not into fashion, we normally don't take take a bunch of. Well, we do, but it's not like I wouldn't think of it as intrusive because none of it is post. Maybe we are the assholes and I don't know it. But yeah, no, it's like we don't stop everything and like you don't stop everything and say it's like, okay, I'm gonna get my camera out. Everyone like get over here. Like this is the time for the photos. If we do take like dedicated outfit pictures, that's usually before we actually are going to the event. Like before or after.
That's interesting.
Yeah. We don't
I can talk more about that too. That's a good good points.
I take outfit photos too pretty much every day, especially when I'm about to go out and I'm wearing like a cooler outfit. I'll take an outfit photo, so I'm not usually worried about.
You're not going to do it in the moment, right?
Actually out. Yeah. Okay. And anyways, for anyone that knows me and communicates with me on technology on a regular basis, they know that my phone camera doesn't work at all.
No,
so it's not really an option. It looks like Vaseline is smeared over the lens.
Yeah.
But recently I've been getting a little bit.
You have an
more
iPhone 5. So.
Yeah, I do have an iPhone 5 too.
That's insane. That's insane.
What year was the iPhone 5? Wait, because what are we at?
I'm on it.
What are we on now? Like fucking like 10?
Yeah,
11.
11?
11, right?
12 should be on the
iPhone
way.
5 was released in 2000.
It doesn't even say what it is on the back.
Okay,
You're
look up the original iPhone SE because that's what I had before I got the 10.
Bro, wait, what iOS are you running?
I don't know, an old one. I never, ever update it. But my battery life, using the phone, I probably get about 30 minutes of battery life.
Why do you...
And I'm not
do you like just really like this phone, or is it like, you know...
No, I just don't want to spend the money on the phone.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So
you got Johns to buy.
Let me speak a little bit to what Spencer said about the whole thing. You know,
please do.
Because he says...
Because, I mean, you might think, like, after, you know, every fucking social event, there's, like, photos of it. You might think it's like, oh, man, how much time that must take out of it. But I like to think that we got it down. It doesn't.
Well, because I'm a fucking efficient motherfucker, dude, you know? But no, I was going to say, in terms of the whole thing out... Yeah, it's the German in me, yeah? Hey, Heinz is back.
But Ethan, that's going to be your next hat, right? You're just going to say efficient motherfucker on it?
I'm actually not opposed to that one.
Stand by for sad merch.
Yeah, it's really good. Guys in chat, let us know if you would buy it, because I think we gotta do it before Rowing Blazers does it. 'Cause that sounds like a very Rowing Blazers type of hat. Like, come on. If you're watching, fuck off, bro. But no, I think so. Something that I thought about was Spencer was talking about the us hanging out with non-menswear folk, or AKA our regular friends like Scott, Taylor, and and Andrew and everything. I don't know. I think that we naturally take pictures of each other. I think we just kind of just do that. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, it also helps that we also have like 3 friends that are photographers.
I want to get to that the second half of the whole show here. But it's more so just the fact that we
all
just
the
take
more
pictures of each other. All the more to. It's just Scott's doing something silly and we're all doing silly things. You take the fucking picture, because I think that here's something that I'm not sure if this is just a Filipino thing, an Asian thing, or whatever. But MJ can probably you remember when we were like in high school, like you would brag, like you would take pictures of your friends and call it blackmail pictures, right? Like they're maybe they're in a compromising position, they make a silly face. They're on chat. There's that whole thing. And I think that kind of plays into now where, again, in like the Asian American group that I'm in, people just take pictures of each other hanging out because it's just kind of funny, right? It's not
just hanging out,
it's not as like it's not as like poses like, hey, let's all stand together. That might be like a little bit of an older thing, or maybe people who are a bit more serious in their lives compared to some of the rest of us. But for us, it's like, we also just intentionally do stupid things. Like every time
straight up stupid.
I'm intentionally an idiot.
Yeah.
But like say we go to the movies, right? And there's a fucking Minions thing. We're gonna be like, okay, let's fucking take a picture with that. That thing's hilarious. And
we love Minions. Every time we drive by Universal Studios, we see that big Minion. Oh my
That's right.
god, my heart melts.
Big yin.
But it's like,
Yeah.
you guys have been, I think all of you guys are friends with me on Facebook. I'd hope so.
Double-breasted waistcoat. We
there-
take pictures of the movies.
Of
In fact,
the movie.
right.
I take
take-
video of the movie.
Yeah, we take
and
24
upload it.
pictures a second of movies, if you
Yeah.
know what I
I
mean.
make
Yeah.
I make
I'm
gifs
kidding.
out of the movie.
Yeah. And so
Can you
my
imagine
point
an hour-long
is,
GIF?
And that's all I imagine.
the point is like, yeah, we just take really dumb photos, and they're kind of funny to look at later. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, there is a absolutely giant album called Everyday Silliness, and it is hilarious. If you guys haven't seen that album, I will send you guys a private link. I mean, again, you have to be friends with me on Facebook, and that's not open to the public. But there are
They're
just
not cool enough.
that's the content. Like, like when you see like me, like fucking like, I don't know. There's a lot of funny shit that we do. That's not like, it's not turned into like content for itself. Like it's
Not
gonna be,
everything
like, a
is
fucking
content.
blog thing. Yeah, I mean it is, but it's also like it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be good content. Like in order to further a brand or anything. And I'm sure MJ. Why don't you talk a little bit about the thing? Because we take pictures of each other all the time with just our phones, right? Just snapping each other.
Yeah, I mean, you already said, it was just like, it's like a fun thing to do. It's like making memes in real life, kind of.
Exactly, and that could
you're
be
checking
an
me
age
like-
thing, and like
Yeah.
in itself.
I mean,
Yeah.
as far as like time and place sort of thing, I think we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Us and our friends, like when pre-COVID era,
That's right.
Let me just.
whenever we go out to eat, phones are not out. Even like, I mean, we
But
don't
even
really
is
do the
watching
whole,
anime.
yeah. But
Ethan
then we're
does
doing
have
it
his
together, so
laptop
it's
and a
fine.
hard drive and headphones.
Right. And has,
But
but no
Yeah,
phone.
you don't have to come for college, Ethan, like that.
yeah.
It was high school, Ethan. It was high school.
That's not
Ethan,
much
okay?
better, man.
That's not better. Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
That's where we're supposed to be forming new
I mean, yeah,
friendships.
there was a time, and I think a lot of it now is probably like a, like I was very detached before. I mean, even in high school, I mean, I had Scott, but like I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't expand out of it. We had a big discussion about how limited my social interactions were because of not my upbringing, but more so just kind of me being younger than everyone.
Personality.
And everything. Yeah, and personality as well. So I mean, this my pretty, my prominent transparency could be like a rebellion against that kind of thing. But I like taking pictures, and again, we'll get into more of the photography aspect afterward. But I see. Like, what about you, Jason? Without getting into like your approach to photography, like do you take pictures of like the random stuff that you do? I know you take selfies. We follow you on Instagram, but like, what's your take on the whole public photographing kind of of
I take a
everything?
lot of photographs of like things, like when I'm eating
And
dinner.
is that a New
I'll
York?
take a lot
Can
of
you tell me if
photographs.
that's a New York thing? Is that a New York thing?
What do you like? What taking photographs of things like? that
Yeah,
I
because
see?
it's like like you follow everyone takes a picture of like the random person on the subway, the random trash on the ground. Like,
I
oh,
did that this
New
morning.
York, am I right,
I
boys?
took some
Like,
random. Well, I don't do it because like, oh, it's New York. I take random photos of things that I see because I find them relatable to something. Like I'll like the fun shirt. that
Yeah,
I
you're
sent-
like,
I
this
sent
is
that random
relatable to someone who lives in my city.
Yeah.
right.
and it's
this-
called New York, baby.
Yeah, this
But,
is
like, I'm not-
something.
I
This
don't
is
take a
something
picture of,
that
like, a
could
rat on the
only
street and
happen
go,
here.
oh, look at rats in New York City. It's like no, that rat's taking a piece of pizza box. I think I was like, it's living in a pizza
Wait,
box.
did you
That's
take
funny.
the picture of Pizza
Like, no, I
Rat?
didn't. No,
Oh.
I
That would
wish.
have been incredible if we found out. It's like, yeah, that was me. I took the picture of Pizza Rat.
I'm Pizza Rat.
I am Pizza. I
would've
faked
been
Pizza
crazy,
Rat.
though.
I'm
That's
his
crazy, man.
representative.
Yeah. Oh
I
shit.
get 10% of every dollar that rat makes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't like taking photos of like, ooh, New York. Like look at where I live. It's more just like I just found whatever that thing on the side of the street was kind of cool, and it just happens I live in New York. Or like I take pictures like when I'm eating dinner with people. I'll like do the weird thing where I take a picture of someone across the table when they're in the most unflattering like mouth pose.
I do that all the time.
We do.
Yeah,
We do that.
But it's never. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of the photos I take in general are just for fun.
Regulate, yeah, and that's a big thing. You know, it's all about kind of capturing everyday life, and maybe that's again the difference between maybe us and the people that Kiyoshi unfortunately hangs out with or has the unfortunate like you get to see, because you know, like even here, right? Like Jeremy was saying, you know, in the chat,
take a lot of pictures of my cats.
He'd rather have someone do candid photos and stop and make you pose, and I'm right with you too.
Yeah, it ruins the moment.
Yeah.
I would say the worst type of posing is when you get the waiter to take everyone.
Oh yes.
I hate being part of that. I'm like,
or when like you're like, oh, let's take a picture, and like, oh, but make it look candid. Like you should just taken it candid. Like you already didn't have anyone's attention, so you could have just taken the picture.
You know what? You don't see it anymore at restaurants because of camera phones, and maybe this is a good thing. You don't get those guys walking around with the camera asking you if you'd like a picture for $10.
Yeah, what happened to that?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Did people do that? I've never.
Wait, have you not seen that?
Have you not been to like a Benihana or a fucking a
Chuck E.
Rainforest
Cheese
Cafe or Chuck E. Cheese?
I for real have never seen anyone ever do that. I've only been to Rainforest Cafe once, but that was like relatively recently.
It might be
a really? Wait, how long ago did you go to Rainforest Cafe?
And
let's see, maybe like 5 years ago when I was in college.
You know what is so sad? I think the first social engagement that was canceled due to COVID was me and my friends were going to go to the last remaining Rainforest Cafe in California. And then because of COVID, Rainforest Cafe went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Like that was the first, like we were gonna go, and it was like I think it was the week that like Tom Hanks got sick, and like, you know, like my school was like, okay, we're not doing like in-person classes anymore, and I was like, I don't want to go to Rainforest. I'm not gonna die for Rainforest Cafe.
For Rainforest Cafe.
Are you sure? You see, Jeremy brings up a good thing here. My dad standing with the camera for 10 minutes telling you guys to act natural. Yeah, like you can't manufacture, like the whole manufactured part behind it makes it incredibly tough to, you know, to kind of sell it and you know, take a good, because I mean, again, even for me as a guy who takes, you know, I guess selfies all the time, we'll get into fit pics in the second half of the show. I still hate making someone take the picture and then they take a long time. It's like, just snap it. Let's keep going. Yeah. Of course, I hope that it's good, and I'll live with it. If it's not good, you know, if it's a phone, we have plenty more time, right? But you know, I don't like the posing thing, which maybe comes in with like what Jason was saying. Like you just kind of take pictures of your friends. You kind of just take a quick snap, because again, a lot of us just take the quick snap pics, and if they're bad,
snap is the best. Even if it's bad, it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's real.
Kind of what it is. Yeah,
the
go ahead,
problem
John.
too with non-photography people is they, even when they have an actual camera, they take like one picture or two pictures, whereas somebody that knows anything about photography will take 10 in the same time that they'll take one, and your chances of getting a natural shot within that are so much higher. And
I'm like,
that's actually funny, because
in that case, I don't take a lot of photos at all.
I'll just snap that.
But again,
there's so many
times. Jason, doesn't he sound like a noob? That's a very
here's the thing. I also shoot on film, so I'm used to only taking like one or two. So even doing my phone too, I'll take like one or two photos.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, yeah, if you're used to shooting film, obviously each one is more intentional, and you know, getting into it also kind of reduced, you know, how many like self portraits I take. I think I can I know what I want. But what I was going to say, John, is that early on it is very common to just take a bunch of pictures, but then as you do more, as you know, because even like importing to the computer and looking at them before you pick them, it's very time consuming, and that also plays into how natural, and you know, because you also want to make it look like when you do it, like it's a hard cognitive dissonance. Like, okay, I want to look natural, but I just took 100 pictures. Like, there at a certain point you will feel like I'm doing something wrong here, and you will need the chance of getting a better photo. Exactly, you'll when you just know how to take. You'll know the right candid moment, and again, even if it's bad, you know the skill that you develop will make it so it's not that bad. Like, you know, like you're not gonna get even if it's bad, it's like it's feeling. You know, it's feeling. You're not gonna. You know, even if the photo itself to snap it. Yeah. When the guy is like not blinking or like his mouth's all weird, like you'll know when to take it. You know, and again, I'm very glad. We got like Andy in here. We're gonna talk about you guys after the middle part of the show.
Actually, let me just chime in really quick here because I come from a very different background.
Sure. Yeah. If you want, let us know how you are. Because again, you're from Vietnam. Is there like a different culture behind taking the pics and everything? Go ahead.
Yeah. So most of my close friends are girls, and once we hang out, I mean, we don't.
No. I heard someone say nice.
Yeah, I did.
What's that feel like, Andy?
So, yeah, it's nice. Anyways,
Here it is.
So when we hang out, we actually don't really take pictures when we're hanging out. But they, specifically the Vietnamese American girls, but they're more my friends are more on the Vietnamese side. So they take once after hanging out or before hanging out, they will take like pictures like very seriously, like they would pose for that and do all kind of stuff. And once they're done with that, they're not gonna take pictures anymore. If ever they want to take pictures, maybe there's like a cool drink or a cool food, cool dish. It's just gonna take the phone out and snap a quick pic, and that's it. They're gonna put it away. Yeah, they're not gonna put it on Instagram right away or scrolling through their phones all the time.
Yeah.
Me personally, I take pictures. I don't really take pictures of myself much when I don't ask for others to take pictures for me because mostly I do it by myself when I'm free. Yep. Like after going home from work, I would put on some cool clothes and run some errands. And if I I came across some cool spots, I'm just gonna stop by and set up the tripod and shoot some pics. That's it. That's pretty much it.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point here, and thank you for sharing. I like Spencer said. I think when events, or even if we're hanging out, even if it's with just the menswear guys, we're pretty good about setting a section or a part of time to just do the fit pics, and then we just hang out afterward. And of course, the candid stuff will happen during the hang. But like the whole oh wait, hold it right there. Like we try not to do that. We'll do all the solo stuff just before or after or whatever.
I hate when someone's like, "Oh, hold that pose." Like, okay, now
I
it's a
don't do
pose.
that, but I will
Now
ask
it's
someone.
not
Oh
camera.
wait, if someone looks good. Oh, go ahead, Aldous.
Yeah, building on what Andy said, it might be a Southeast East Asian thing because growing up as well, the idea of candid photography was something. No, I'm still a child. Sorry, I misspoke.
He's a little baby.
Yes.
Little
During
baby.
the childhood, during the childhood that I'm still very much in, the idea of taking candid photography was something quite alien. Like we never did that. Like even quote unquote our candids were what Jason was saying. Like, wait, hold it, and
Yeah,
turn
so
around.
it's like posed or nothing, basically, right?
Yeah, posed to nothing. So yeah, I think that's been to the detriment of perhaps a more active social media accounts. I'm just not used to taking quote unquote pictures that are cool because they are truly candid, as opposed to post stuff which has an air to it, and they'll never allow it to be cool, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. What's cool? I think
Cool?
that Southeast Asian or just Asian in general, because I don't know if the Philippines counts as Southeast Asian. Exactly. Does it? I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
I consider it. Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
Sure. But in general, the lack of candid, I think, is probably something that I felt was very formative in my photography style because, again, early on, I decided, what, I want to capture people as they are and share my friends. Because I think my friends are very stylish. I mean, at the time, maybe it was like Spencer and Blake, R.I.P. But
Don't worry about
nothing. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't tell the doctor.
We don't talk.
Don't
Nazis.
tell the doctor.
We didn't bring that name up here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm so sorry.
We don't talk to the Third Reich.
Let's go, dude.
But yeah, so it was
now
like
I'm
being around people and these people are cool. And it was a little bit of like the first street style pictures that I saw was like pity, right? And not just like the ones of people walking, but like 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 the guy on the phone, and then I saw the armory, right? Like they kind of this the stuff of, and I'm sure a little bit is posed, but there's stuff of like Jake Grantham, they're taking a walk and then they just take a picture of Jake or whatever sitting there, Ambrosie's there and everything. That kind of had a really big influence on me, and of course I wasn't used to candid photography because again it's posed or nothing. So I kind of was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that shit, right? And I did, early on I brought my camera. I still bring my camera a lot, but I brought it to, like, every time me and Spencer hung out, and I would take pictures of like everything, and it's again very amateur kind of thing to do. But as time goes on, you kind of feel the room, right? When to take it, when to not.
You know when to hold them, know when to fold.
If we're gonna take a food picture, do it, when the food's there, and after you take it, like, don't bring it out again, let the people eat or whatever. And there's a kind of documentarian status about it, where at least for me, right, it's about like those Drake's pictures, which is very content, obviously, for social, lookbooks, whatever. But I don't have a brand. I mean, yeah, I guess if you want to call my brand like the kind of lifestyle that I promote, like the whole you can be who you want to be and be easy, pocket fist, whatever. Yeah, but it's not a clear product, right? I'm not selling anything specific. So it's about showing these guys that are my friends that I hang out with that they are regular people, and this is just kind of them doing stuff. And to go back to what Jeremy said, right? Like, oh, I don't want candids unless they're good, right? Like, why would I have someone else fake a candid? I'm sure my friends all want candids too, because they, I think I'm around guys who don't want their life to be super manufactured. I think we all kind of just got that right off the bat, like, no, like, we don't, all of us, we might eat cool food, go to cool places, but we're not like the whole, oh, let me hold up my coffee with the sign here and take, take like a billion pictures, right? Like, we might do that like once, but it's not like a big selling point of like why we go there.
It's not a selling point.
It's not hashtag, we're not trying to be influencers, right?
Yeah.
So like, I'd rather just like, and even if I'm the weird one, I can just kind of take it, right? Like, when we're out, and of course, even in the world of phones and everything, seeing a guy with a professional camera, and professional, basically means a non-phone camera nowadays.
Yeah.
It's all about, like, yeah, I probably look weird, but like, who the fuck cares? Like, they're gonna look at me, but my friends just keep doing what they're doing, and I think over time my friends have gotten more and more okay with Ethan walking around and doing it, because I'm like I'm the photographer, and that's kind of like what I do for a living. That's what I do for a hobby, and it kind of just makes sense, right? And I think, once everyone kind of understands that, the opinion of a guy looking at us doesn't fucking matter, and we don't act like, I'm not going to tell them, okay, hold it and then fucking take like 10 pictures, and okay, now hold your cupcake to the light and then take more, and then okay, now fake like you're eating the cupcake, like we don't do that, like, I just kind of sense the moment, just like how if I was hired to be a wedding photographer, right, you're supposed to fade into the background of these things, so having that mindset was very formative for me. And I think as Ivan has said before, and one of the compliments I love receiving is that I'm able to kind of make everything look natural, which again is my goal, and I'm very glad that people are able to see it from the photography. What do you guys, anything that you guys want to add to that or whatever?
I find it kind of interesting.
Go ahead, Chris.
Like, I kind of identify with like what you were talking about earlier when it came to like you bring like your camera everywhere, because I'm kind of in the middle of that, and I don't know,
it's fun.
The opposite. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I do it. Like, I bring at least because I'm also into film, so I also I bring like a point and shoot with me everywhere. But I'm not bringing my whole camera. But like, I find it interesting because you guys are talking about like, oh, like all these people are like doing like planned kind of shit. Like they're kind of going like, oh, like pose like this and all that stuff. And when I first got into it, like I thought that was the way to do it, but then my friend kind of forced me out of it. And then like after that, like everything's just been candid. Like I bring my camera, like kind of like what we were talking about earlier when it came to restaurants. Like I'll take pictures of like what's happening on the inside, but it's kind of like in the moment kind of thing. It's not like, right, oh, like we're gonna take a picture of this meal, or we're gonna like, oh, we're all gonna pose over here. Like it's all just kind of like real experiences, And it's kind of I was forced out of that very early on when I was getting into kind of like photography now, and I find it very interesting. Everyone's talking about it's kind of like all planned and posed kind of stuff. Yeah,
I think. I mean That's good. Thank you.
Hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it, right there. And again, I think people who have the kind of more negative connotations that we talked about, aren't photographers, and they kind of and that's. I don't think it's exactly fair to fault them on that. We can't expect the person who is used to that kind of thing. We can't expect like our moms or our cousins who have like 10 followers and they post a picture of their in and out.
Our low beef cousins. Our low follow count cousins.
Our Bush League cousins.
Yeah.
I think so. Our friend Derby. Why is that? Just because you main Kirby? Like what's the? I don't know. But anyway, he's saying it's also nice to have a candid photo of friends when doing stuff because it's short and sweet, doesn't feel forced at the end of the day. It feels like we have memories of a hangout that happens to just be aesthetic. And I have exactly said that. Like I got into photography because I wanted to take the best possible candids of my friends. And the thing is, it works out because no one really asks, again, this could be a detriment to like a career or whatever, but none of my friends ask me to like, oh, can you take my LinkedIn picture? Can you do my grad photos? They kind of understand that I'm there to just document. And again, that's probably why I wasn't.
I think you've taken a couple of our friends' LinkedIn photos.
Yeah, but they're like, it's not like you can like pay you, do grad photos. That whole like it was never really overtly obvious that I was like the photographer for hire.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And he means Falcon. Okay, bro. Get whatever. And and something that comes to mind is I think how I approached the whole like our New York trip. And if you guys haven't seen it, let me see if I can, or MJ, or whatever. I'll look it up. I'll look it up right now, and put it here. But this I knew that of course it's a big trip and everything, but I wanted to just kind of document everything, and I know these are great memories, and I know that my friends would appreciate it. Again, they're not asking me to do this stuff, but I want good pictures of my friend. I want to see this stuff and see my friends having fun and taking some cool pics, and even sometimes they are posed, but it's nice to kind of do.
That first photo in that blog post, is that at Champion Pizza in like Chinatown?
That is, I think.
Not Chinatown, but
it's the Brooklyn location. Or
it's
near the Drakes?
Brooklyn.
Or was
Soho.
it?
It's near Soho.
It was by Drake's.
Oh, it's right by the park right there.
The park.
Taco place, La Esquina, which is delicious. Has a speakeasy in the back of it. You gotta have a passport to get in.
Right. Exactly. See,
I went there with Dave actually during when we right as the pandemic started. Dave and I were like, "Hey, want to go down to Chinatown?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." And then we went there afterward.
That sounds fun.
Fun little anecdote, but I immediately recognized all the stuff on the walls there.
Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was, it felt, New York, baby. And there's another one too that I think that other readers routinely kind of bring up to me. It's our I call it testing lookbook concept at the Getty, and it wasn't intentional, but as the day went on, it was like, this feels like a lookbook because it's kind of fun when you take really good candids, and tooting my own horn here. But like when your friends are all really well dressed, it just kind of looks like a piece of an editorial, and you look at it and some of them, we're maybe being serious, but like a lot of it's kind of silly because that's just kind of how we are, and it's not.
We're just silly boys.
We're the SBs.
We're just two wild and crazy guys.
Yeah. And again, that's
crazy, man.
That's the vibe I want, because again, when I look at everyone else's Facebook, right, it is stuff like this, but just shot on like a phone, right? And why can't I should use my talents to kind of document this kind of thing, so we can look back at it and all these pictures. I mean, they're posted on my blog. The blog's not monetized. I mean, it's led to my career or whatever, but it didn't. These pictures don't matter, right? They're literally like just for fun. They don't have to be overly good. They don't have to be in focus. They don't even have to be edited right. Like, I mean, I think my editing maybe has changed since these pictures taken fucking 2 years ago. God, May 14, 2018. It's more than 2 years ago. That's crazy,
man.
But but it's really cool, and I'm very happy that I'm able to kind of do this kind of thing. The only sad part is, unfortunately, I can't be there for all the rest of you guys to take your fun pictures. And also the sad part is, I don't get fun candid pictures.
Yeah, I feel that, man.
In the same kind of vein, because I'm the photographer, I have to set the settings. As soon as I have to take a picture of someone else in that spot, and then I have to put, and then all of a sudden I'm posing and I'm not candid, right? And
it's kind of like the old saying that the shoemaker has holes in his shoes. He has no time.
Yeah. Ethan has
always
holes.
Ethan
has holes in his camera.
Yeah, he does.
The photographer has no selfies.
That's
right.
Yeah, if I'm around people, and again, I don't blame that too, because it's like, not all my friends have a desire to be photographers, right? They don't need to spend, lots of money on a good camera or whatever. But they've learned. MJ's picked up. He's been able to buy some used cameras from my friend. And then, of course, in New York, the only reason I have them is because Trung brought his camera, which was great, that I could actually have some pictures. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the next time we all hang out, when the Patreon allows us after we paid off all of the
a follow. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Trung.
Thank you, Trung.
Thank you.
That's it. We're 100 now.
Oh, we're at 100?
Okay.
Woo!
I think so.
The alarm's going off. Woo! 100 followers. Woo!
I was gonna say, once we get all in New York, I mean, we're gonna have, fucking Jason's gonna be there. We're gonna and John hopefully as well, right?
Because I'm always
fucking
here.
pics of the boys, bro.
The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town.
I'll be happy now because I can get pictures. of me doing things that are not like a picture, like a fit pic or a picture of me and Spencer, like something of me like fucking just like a real candid of like that I do of my friends, that I unfortunately don't always get to do.
Yeah, and I'm sometimes envious of the sort of J Muser boys, because they all seem to always be carrying around cameras and therefore get pictures of one another really frequently, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, Chase is one of great photographer, great style, cool guy, one of my favorite style inspirations. And then Jonas, the guy from J Muser, I think he's been a big film guy for a while, right? There's a whole article in The Grange where where Jonas was able to share some of the pictures that he took in Naples during Pity or something. And it's fun to be around people like that, and I think unfortunately we're all kind of got this like menswear diaspora, we're all spread out a little bit, and and my friends, again, we all have different hobbies, and all of them have to be photographers. But it certainly helps if you're around that kind of thing. Unfortunately, MJ and I went to a. I don't know if this is a thing. I'm sure it is in New York. It's got to be a thing in New York and wherever else you are. But in LA, obviously, there are a bunch of influencers, right?
Right.
And there's this thing called Street Meet LA. And there's also ACN, which is the Asian Creative Network, and these are all supposed to be very wholesome. They're meant to kind of bring, and I hate this, like content creators, influencers, and photographers together. Which again, I get the idea, right? Because that's kind of a career now, right? You want to be like the influencer's photographer. There are people who make lots of money doing that. There's a guy who I met him. He is Blake Scott's photographer. But he was able to go with him to Pity and everything. Like that's a big, you can't knock that, right? Like even if we're not a big fan of a Blake Scott or whoever, there's that kind of thing behind it. And even though it's very wholesome, it's so cringy. And I was describing this to someone that I'm seeing, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have been to like Anime Expo, or you guys have been to what do you call it, like WonderCon, Comic Con, whatever. But on the main floor, and MJ again can probably, and MJ and whoever else can jump in here, but like on the expo floor, of course, there are people walking around, with their costumes, their cosplays, and then someone will start snapping pics, and that person gets noticed, and then all the other photographers like turn around and start snapping pics, and now pretty soon you've got like fucking like a firing squad of guys shooting a person. And sometimes they bring fucking lights and everything like that, and as much as I want to be around other creatives, and again, I'm sure that they are out there, right? In LA, it kind of moves toward this very influencer kind of thing where you go to these meetups and it's like, yeah, there are dedicated models, there are dedicated photographers, and like you're like, oh, that
Very
fire
fake.
hydrant looks great.
Plastic.
We they go there, they stand next to it, and then freaking people bring out stuff. I hate when they bring out like props. I think that is the dumbest thing ever. Like I've seen a guy like as the lights go down, the sun goes down, they bring out the fucking Christmas lights. They bring out the fucking like ball orb shit, right? Like we've all seen that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but like that's kind of what the mainstream like photographer creative space is like. There aren't a lot of the guys who approach it very documentarian again, like like Mark Cho taking pictures with his fucking expensive ass cameras, or Chase and Jonas of Jamie's theory. They don't have that, which is a little unfortunate, for me, which is why I try and create the content in this space. And when I went to hang out for Psy, the Asian group that I'm in, there's a couple of them who went to a just meet up for some quarantine ice cream, right? We all the place only gets one person at a time, and we stand outside kind of talking, meeting some new people, hanging out. And I just take pictures of people like stand there talking. I don't ask them to pose. Maybe if they look nice, I'll be like, oh hey, over here. They'll smile, take it, because I know that they also probably want a good picture. Regular people still like smiling pictures.
Yeah.
But it's all about you just snap them as they are, and it was it's cool. I posted it, and it's my hope they don't have to, but like that other people can go, oh, so we don't have to like fucking bring fucking a fake lollipop to take a fucking picture with some strobe lights and smoke
Yeah, but you do
to like
that.
Make something aesthetic. After this, I will show you guys. Actually, I'm gonna go right now on Facebook
Nice,
and see if I can find something from that Street Meet LA kind of shit.
Yeah, but those the influencer photographs are the worst. Because then, like, you see one of them, and then, of course, your Explore page on Instagram is just the rest of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't even like that first photo.
You have to like hard press it and then say not interested. And
Right.
You do, like, for 3 of like that type of photo or video or meme or whatever, and it'll finally disappear.
Yeah, and it's like, what's crazy, so like I like a lot of like, tattoo artists and like their, tattoos, and so then now I'm starting to get like, the influencer tattoos where it's all these like,
just bad design.
It's not even bad design, but it's just like stupid, like really thin, fine lines, and I'm like, those are gonna disappear. Like your fine line little face, I'm like, that's gonna look blurry as shit. And I'm like, or it's like just stupid, like weird, like, ooh, the tattoos are like, oh, this one's like in my armpit, so people can't see it, but I know it's there. I'm like, then what'd you get it for?
That sounds horribly painful.
Everything's like hidden, and I'm like, man, the first things that got tattooed were my hands because I was like, I want people to see these.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing is when
the influencers are ruining everything.
This is kind of off topic, but I also want to complain about influencers. The worst thing is occasionally my feed will get, or like my Explore page, which I mean I don't browse a lot, but I will get infected by food influencers, which are my least favorite. I hate like fucking like wacky like novelty food restaurants that open up in like outdoor, like mini malls in fucking Irvine or whatever. I'm complaining about a specific Orange County restaurant right now. But like like the fucking like rainbow burgers, or like it just has like glitter on it, just disgusting.
Right.
Get out of here. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. I hate.
And then like the influencers come up to them and ask if they can have it for free because they're going to share it to their followers.
But it's like, I mean, it's like food that it's like, this doesn't look like it tastes good, but it's like clearly designed.
And it probably doesn't.
It's clearly designed for you to get a photo of it. I fucking hate that. Yeah.
I sent the picture in the chat.
I'm not like a person that gets angry when people take pictures of their food. I generally don't do it. But it's like, I don't get mad, but yeah, when it's food that's like only designed to be, photographed.
Photogenic, yeah.
That's when I get upset.
I took a few good pics of some ribs I had while I was in the Grand Canyon, but that's because they were delicious. They were so good.
I mean, like, I would say my rules on food photography are if I'm with no one else, if I am sitting alone at a table, preferably maybe if it's a restaurant, at the bar, so it's not in the dining area. I will snap a photo in that case, and I will always snap a photo, regardless of situation, if it's barbecue.
Okay.
Yeah,
Barbecue deserves
I was specifically asked to send a friend photos of what I was eating.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with fucking phone, food pics. I think that's fine. I mean, again, it's quick. If you do it quick,
good looking ribs or good looking ribs.
Wrong with that shit. You just take it, move on, share it.
No, I take it full flash like 4 times.
Oh, okay. So you're who we hate.
Just kidding.
Get out the drone camera.
I got a ring light. I got a ring light for these ribs.
Yeah. But I tried to find some pics here of the thing. You guys might be click it, but you can see how many there's to the right of the picture or my left. There's a bunch of like photographers, and there's a person like out onto the right side like posing, and that's how many people there are for those kinds of things.
Wait, so hold on. So one model poses, and then like a bunch of other photographers like photograph that one model.
I can find animate.
My brother's done something like this where it's like, because he likes to shoot photos.
Yeah.
He shoot me more often, but they'll like hire like a model or like a group of models, and then it'd be like a photographer meetup where you all pitch in like X amount of dollars that just goes to the models, and then like you go to like certain locations, and it's like, okay, now you can get, the models get photos, and then like you get an opportunity to shoot models in different lights and settings, and like
and then
but as long as some guy's not making a video and calling it a photography challenge, I'm fine with it.
I mean, again, it's like one of those
one model,
things.
26 photographers.
I'm not a big fan of that because I don't particularly like that photography. Like I also don't like groups of people. When they start talking about like, oh, I want to do this concept, and the concept
that's where you lose me.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, I want to do a concept in a wheat field, but then I'm gonna bring a fucking grand piano out there to make it look like it's. I mean, I get it, and it's like. I get that you're trying to be artistic, right? Like you want this, like painting, right? It's like painting. You want to manufacture something, but that's there is precedent for it. Obviously, there's plenty of photographers who like manipulate things, do double exposures to create different worlds, and of course, graphic design and photo editing is an art form unto itself. I personally just don't identify with that. I tend to just like the documentarian approach to photography.
Yeah, and I mean, my whole, for those who don't know, I have a photography book that you can buy on my website called The Girls. And those photos I took for that, they were just done. I was just like talking to the models the whole time and taking the photos that way. I wasn't just like, hey,
that's
do
how,
this or do that. I was just talking to them and then like
photos.
Yeah, it's like you just snap in between and everything, or and obviously when I was working professional models, so they also know how to look in general.
Oh, we're not professional.
A long way.
And so it was like I could just talk to them, and I was just talking. I never once was like, "Ooh, do this, do that," and that the whole like the concept was just to capture these 3 girls in whatever the moment was. And it's that's why I hate those over concepts. I've had people tell me like, "Oh, I want to do this, shoot," and it's like in a studio, but like there's sand on the ground, and I'm like, already too much.
Get out
exactly.
Of here.
Not a big fan of that. When they start to like do, and again, maybe it's more interesting for women, right? And again, like there's like a different type of, it's a different type of photographer, but I don't like that. Like the whole strobe lights, the whole, it's like maybe. When it's done well, it's okay, but like when you start like bringing in fucking like I literally MJ can confirm it. He's not on mic right now because he's playing fucking Final Fantasy off screen. But a guy brought a fucking like so I thought that thing right like like Kiyoshi was saying like bunch of models, bunch of photographers. It's like an exposure. In one of those things, a guy walked up, was like, "Here you go," and hands a fucking fake ass lollipop, like one of those like little girl, like little the big swirly lollipop, and and it's fake, and then they start posing with it, and the camera's snapping away. It's fucking,
it's just snapping.
I don't get it. I don't understand because at least with with influencers, like okay, I get it. Like you got the fucking dress, you want the free dress, you're at the coffee shop, you're gonna get the sponsored by the coffee shop, but what do you get from the fucking the lollipop thing? That's
maybe
regular
the
content, I guess.
Company sponsored the photo.
Yeah.
Oh my
Maybe it was
God.
giant.
But the guy made it. But the guy made it. The guy
Yeah.
is like a photographer, and he made it as like a fucking prop. And then after that, he brings out the fucking like smoke
The
screen
LED
and
light
and the
strips.
LED light strips and everything. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah. Well, see, right there. So he just saw someone else do it, and he's like, "Ooh, that got a lot of likes. I'll get a lot of likes." You know.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like,
You know.
yeah,
The
I
get
idea
it.
of like
Or
wanting to
certain
learn how to do things with lighting and like,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah, I'm not afraid of
I
lighting.
understand that, but like,
You are afraid of the dark, though.
True.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I was
Like, I'm not afraid if I'm in
you
like
know,
a studio.
I-
I won't use lights outside other than like an on-camera kind of flash to get that like, you know, point and shoot kind of thing going. But like I don't like to use lights outside. If I'm in a studio, I'll use, you know, maybe like one strobe, just if there's no like window. But if there's like some like New York City studios have like these huge windows, if there's one of those, no lights are going up. We're sitting by that window. But you know, also some places here are like basically a basement, and I'm like, well, it's pitch black in here. I guess I'll put a light on.
Right. Well, you know, I was gonna say I think the big thing here is I don't really shoot models. You know, I think the best people are again regular guys because they're already wearing the clothes. Like a lot of people ask me, "Oh, dude, when can I model for your blog?" And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about, bro?" Like these are guys who own things. I can't
Yeah.
give you these things because they aren't made
Right.
for you. Like you literally can't
Exactly.
wear this.
It
You know,
belongs
that's the
to
whole
me.
appeal.
That's where my
you should
biggest
just tell 'em
fault
go get
in
a
like
better
product
wardrobe.
photography is
Yeah.
like
It's
I'm
kinda
really
bad,
bad at
again.
casting people.
I don't want to call it any particular people, but you know, early on the blog, I shot a lot of people from my college because I just kind of did with who was around me, and I wanted to get street style. But of course, the blog evolves, right? I started to get into the industry more, hang out with Spencer, wear some cool stuff, improve my photography, and some people are like, oh yeah, when am I going to be in the blog again? I'm like never, like
Bruh,
at a certain point, it became more of my purview on menswear, obviously, as we all know today. So it's like I'm not gonna fuck that up with like, oh, I'm not gonna write about a guy wearing H&M because I don't like H&M. Like I'm not gonna lie to my friends. I'm also not gonna lie to you and make you think that you look good when I don't like your fit, bro. You know.